After UFC 288 and after that co-main event, Belal Muhammad versus Gilbert Burns, I think Dana White was smiling, and I think he was smiling because now Colby Covington versus Leon Edwards just became a much more intriguing matchup than Belal Muhammad versus Leon Edwards. Honestly, I kind of do feel like for the integrity of the sport and for the integrity of the UFC and the division, that Belal Muhammad should leapfrog over Colby Covington and fight Leon Edwards. But from the UFC's point of view, I think all of a sudden, Colby Covington versus Leon Edwards just makes so much more sense company-wise. I wasn't sold on the idea whatsoever until this co-main event happened. You've got Belal Muhammad, he just defeated Gilbert Burns. It was pretty dominant, but I'm gonna be honest with you guys, it was still somewhat boring, like Gilbert Burns wasn't really throwing volume. You can say it was due to the injury, maybe it was, but both guys, weren't really like throwing down. It was a pretty boring but dominant performance from Belal Muhammad. But during my live stream and as I was watching this and after this kind of happened, I kind of just thought, and I said it aloud, I started cooking on my stream, and my stream chat actually seemed to agree with me on this. UFC now has a better claim to make Colby Covington versus Leon Edwards than they did before this fight even happened. Before this fight even happened, we were all kind of thinking Belal Muhammad or Gilbert Burns, they're probably more worthy of a title shot than Colby Covington. And now Belal Muhammad is more worthy of a title shot than Colby Covington. But money-wise, but company-wise, and also probably from the fans' perspective as well, we probably want to see Colby Covington versus Leon Edwards more, because Colby Covington versus Leon Edwards would be a much more exciting build-up and also a much more exciting matchup than Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammad. Now, personally, I think Belal Muhammad versus Leon Edwards is actually a very favourable matchup for Leon Edwards, and I do believe that he would be able to get it done over Belal somewhat easily in a very similar style. He was able to defeat Usman. He probably would have to defend a couple of takedowns. Belal hasn't really gone for takedowns recently, but I think against Leon Edwards he probably would. And I think Leon Edwards would be able to pick apart Belal Muhammad for 5 rounds, maybe even find a finish somewhere along the lines. Now, against Colby Covington, though, stylistically it is a somewhat similar matchup because he will wrestle against Leon Edwards, but he will wrestle in a different way. He'll be constantly shooting for takedowns. He'll be chain wrestling. He'll always be trying to wrestle against Leon Edwards. Stylistically, it probably would be a more exciting matchup as well because Colby Covington is a better striker than Belal Muhammad as well. I feel like what we would see is Belal Muhammad versus Leon Edwards would be not that exciting. The build-up wouldn't be exciting, but Colby Covington versus Leon Edwards would be a much more exciting matchup, would it not? Would people not be more excited to watch Colby Covington versus Leon Edwards instead of Belal Muhammad versus Leon Edwards? It would be a rematch, and Leon Edwards was smacking up Belal Muhammad in that fight as well, the first fight that they had. I think it makes so much more sense now. It's weird to say it because Belal Muhammad has become more deserving of the shot, but Colby Covington versus Leon Edwards all of a sudden just makes more sense. The reason why it makes more sense is the fans are going to want it more. The fans will want Colby Covington versus Leon Edwards more over Belal Muhammad versus Leon Edwards. Belal Muhammad versus Leon Edwards, the build-up wouldn't be very exciting. I don't think the fight would be very exciting, whereas Colby Covington, he's going to draw a lot of eyes. We haven't seen Colby Covington since the Masvidal fight. We haven't really seen him since the Masvidal incident. He's been kind of quiet. Dana White's vouching for him like a lot, which is weird, but I think all of a sudden the Colby Covington fight against Leon Edwards is a more intriguing matchup than Belal Muhammad versus Leon Edwards. Now, I don't normally give a lot of opinion pieces on my channel, but I think that's the case because the Belal Muhammad versus Gilbert Burns fight was so boring that even if Gilbert Burns got a finish at the end of the 5th round, we would still probably be saying the same thing. Like, Burns, he put on a bad performance. It was a bad performance from both of them, Belal Muhammad and Gilbert Burns. I know they took the fight on short notice. I know it was 5 rounds as well, but it was a pretty bad performance. You know what I mean? Like, it just was, it was disappointing, to say the least. It really was disappointing. Now, no one ever expects Belal Muhammad to get a finish, but we're going to finish Sean Brady, which is crazy. That I can't believe that Belal Muhammad wasn't able to finish Gilbert Burns, a one-armed man. You know what I mean? Like, Gilbert Burns had nothing to give. He had nothing to give at all, and he wasn't dangerous at all. You gotta watch the fight again. Burns had absolutely nothing to give. He had nothing to give. Honestly, I thought that the corner was going to throw in the towel and they probably should have, maybe after the third round, because Burns, he had absolutely nothing to offer Belal. I know you can say he probably won the fifth rounds, but he had nothing to offer. Burns had nothing to give Belal, and that's concerning for Belal because he wasn't able to get a finish, and he wasn't able to like kind of do anything. He wasn't really able to impose his game. He just kind of won. He just kind of won the fight, and it was boring. And I know he did his job, but you know, we're talking about a title eliminator here, and people were booing him on the way out. Like, people don't like Belal. I feel like if the fight took place in USA, I think Leon Edwards would get cheered more than Belal. And I think if the fight took place in Dubai, I think Belal would get cheered a lot more than Leon Edwards. So this is kind of what I want to happen. In an ideal world, Leon Edwards fights Colby Covington in UFC 292, in August in Boston, is where it's rumored to be. UFC 292, Leon Edwards fights Colby Covington. If he defends the belt, or if Colby Covington wins, they then go to UFC 294, Belal Muhammad versus Colby Covington or Leon Edwards, and then the co-main event can be Islam Makhachev versus Charles Oliveira 2, or Islam Makhachev versus Beneil Dariush, the winner of that fight. Now, that's what makes things interesting to me, though, is Leon Edwards needs to be more active. Leon Edwards needs to get his hustle on, man, because I think he would be able to destroy Belal Muhammad easily. I think it's a very easy matchup for Leon Edwards, but Colby Covington is not, so he better be practicing that takedown defense, because I want that boy to be fighting in August, and then I want him to fight Belal in October, and then he would have defended his belt twice in the course of about 2 or 3 months, and then he can have another break, and then maybe they can go back to England at the start of 2024, and he can defend his belt again there, maybe against someone that has also earned it. Like maybe Shavkat Rakhmonov beats someone and earns a title shot, and then ends up fighting Leon Edwards at the start of 2024. Maybe Burns even like takes some time off, wins a couple of fights. You never know at the top of welterweight. It's interesting, but what I do know is all of a sudden Colby Covington versus Leon Edwards has become a much more intriguing fight than Belal Muhammad versus Leon Edwards. That's just my opinion. Let me know what you think. Did I cook? I think I cooked. I think I cooked a little bit there. I'm way more excited for Colby Covington versus Leon Edwards now than I was before Belal Muhammad versus Gilbert Burns, before the fight. Because I did pick Burns, but if Belal won and Belal won an exciting fight, I would be like, Belal needs to get the title shot. But I think now, dude, Belal's fight was just terrible. It was. And it was a bad performance. It was a bad performance from both. It was a boring performance. It was a boring performance from both. Just give Colby the title shot. Let's get it over and done with. Seems like that's what the UFC wants to do anyway. And then from there, we can do Belal versus Leon or Belal versus Colby. Probably in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. But for that to happen, we need Leon to defend his belt pretty soon. You know what I mean? Like, we need him to probably defend his belt in the next 3 months, and then he can come back in October, hopefully, and then fight Belal Muhammad. That's what I want to happen. That's an ideal world. Hopefully we get that. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next one.